Sadashivatsamarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Om. Om Shanti, Shanti Shwara. Oh, okay. Last week we have seen the verse 18, the 10th chapter in which Krishna, Arjuna again makes his request to Krishna. It was almost like a polite demand, and then he justified his demand because the satisfaction I get from the nectar of these Upanishadic words, these Vedantic words, is such. And then he managed to seduce Krishna to repeat himself again and again. So tell me again about this power of yours and this manifestation in you of yours, which is not apart from you. Tell me all of that in detail, because there is no satisfaction to me higher than listening to the nectar of this Vedantic wisdom. So it says much about the Arjuna, because only a highly qualified disciple can have that value to the song of the Gita, the song of the wisdom of the Upanishads. And there we see that the three gunas, they combine, they bring about the prakriti of Maya. And Maya is also referred to yoga. And in that content is Maya, the prakriti of Maya is nothing but a reflecting medium, which is possible only through the, intertwinedness, something like that, of the three energies. Now it's yoga because there is connection, there is contact, there is union of the gunas producing the macro reflecting medium. Vibhuti, the glory of the yoga of the Lord. We have seen all of that. And Shimaya Dayananda has said some jokes about the position of the guru, that he tells the same teachings over and over again. And then next week, the disciples say, okay, so tell me again and again and again. Tell me again and again and again. Because somehow some disciples, they only get some peace and satisfaction during the Shravana stage of the process. They don't do manana, they don't do nididhyasana, and then they become dependent on the Shravana, which is better than become dependent on people, things, and circumstance and events. So invitation is we must do our homework. And he says, so I want you to repeat. So it's not that I forget it. No, he's excusing himself in a very clever way. He's saying, it's not that I forget these teachings. I have them retained over and over again. But somehow I like to hear it from you. I like to listen it from you. Okay? It comes out nicer. So I have an expression that I often present, that we go through Shravana to the extent that this nectar, this teaching, these words of wisdom, they become alive in our mind, in our intellect. Okay, and then once it's alive, and then we are good to go into the nididhyasana, because the teachings are imprinted in my intellect. Okay, so I do not depend to go and listen again and again, because now the teaching was somewhat retained even though even a retained teaching requires nididhyasana, which is a constant remembrance of the retained teaching in a moment-to-moment base to offset any residual piece of the ignorance, aham, body, mind as me, that produce suffering. So, so he says it's very refreshing, rejuvenating, enlivening to listen to you. So Papaji used to make a joke to us. He, at the time, we were introduced to several books, some, on the line, in the lineage of the words of Nisargadatta, the others on Ramana Maharaj and Papaji. And then we have all those books. And then we was to listen to Papaji. Papaji did not have much to say. He would rather prefer to laugh, But in any case, he used to say, stop, stop, stop reading the same books again, leaking those pages, Stop leaking those pages, Just discover within you, have in my language, have those words, that wisdom read properly, retained, printed in your intellect so that it's always available. So stop depending too much on this Shravana. That for sure it's refreshing, rejuvenating, and so on. And I never get fed up to listen to you, Krishna, says Arjuna. So I did not forget it, but I like to hear it from you. Yeah? Okay. And there is a point that we cannot rely on listening to the Shravana coming to whosoever, Guru. So I'm saying that even a song gets tiring after some time, but Krishna Arjuna very cleverly say, but this is the only song that I never get tired. So all other fashionable music or song, it's after some time is really nauseating. But this song is something that I'm never tired of. This is very beautiful. And then he says, okay, now we're going to see several verses about that. Okay. I'm never saturated because what I'm listening is Amrutam. Uh, uh, this is that paragraph with so much Sanskrit. It means to say, I think it makes say that it's a special kind of music. It's a special kind of nectar that somehow produce such a peace beyond any understanding, therefore, we're gonna see more about that, about what Arjuna was saying about this Amrutam. The Lord then replies to Arjuna, or Arjuna, I shall tell you the main divine glories of mine because there is no limit to my manifestation. No? There is no limit to my manifestation. Okay, let's see here the list because he's going to enumerate the list by and by as the verse follow. But let's see what Swamiji is going to anticipate as with. We know that there are no limitations. We know that we like to see some of these wonders of of Virat Ishwara, Ishwara manifests as the cosmos, as the universe, as the world we know. So we know that everything is the glory, the beauty of the Lord. Yeah? And enumerate that would take forever because there are so many small details in the micro and in the macrocosm, and it's all the glory of the Lord. Okay, there is no limit. So therefore, we're gonna choose and pick a few, one of them, and the beginning from the most divine. I shall tell you the main divine glories of mine because there is no limit to my manifestation. So, what is the main glory of the Lord? So, the main glory of the Lord can only be that which is the most subtle, that which is the only source of glory that apparently transfers the glory to objects or superimposed by the gunas of Maya. So there is one source of limitlessness, one source of intelligence, one source of power, knowledge, and the very source is Nirguna Brahman, is conscious existence, the only reality. When we talk about Ishwara glories, we go into Saguna Ishwara, yeah? And then the list is infinite. When we go to the glories of Brahman or Nirguna Brahman, and then we have a choice. We can describe the glories as projected by Maheshwara or the glory as Satchitananda Brahman. And then things get very, very simple. And then we can elaborate a little bit. In analogy, we can say, oh, it's like the light of consciousness, it's like the space, is the essential nature of everything, of the ocean and the waves. Yeah? Talk about yourself, please. Yogla, therefore, I'm not asking you at all who will not love to talk about oneself. And that's why I'm reminded that if you ask people to talk about themselves, you get in trouble. But human nature is such that people make concessions sometimes. They set up a trap. Oh, I came here because I want to listen to that story of yours that you start last week, but I did not have time to listen. And then people start telling the story. And then when you least expect, the person steals the microphone and then begin telling her or his own story. Everybody likes to introduce themselves. This is my story, and it goes for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Sometimes it repeats itself 1 hour. Next day it's going to be repeating it, slightly modified, and they forget that they already told you. But that's not the case with Vedanta. I meet with my people, my Brazilian people, every weekend, and the teachings are fundamentally the same because I always drive the teachings to the fundamental nature of the teachings, which is the same. Yeah? Vedantas talk about this Saguna Nirguna glory of the Lord. Yeah? So the Vedantas always talk about the obstacles preventing us from realizing that glory is in reference to our inner nature, intrinsic nature as Satchitananda or Nirguna Atma. Yeah? So it's a wonderful teaching methodology, which evidently was not written by any Jivatma, but was revealed somehow as some spiritual and moral ethic laws which are absolutely relevant in the context of the life of the Jivatma and its desire to be happy. Therefore, we are never tired to hear from the glory of the Lord from the mouths of Lord Krishna. But when we talk about Nirguna Atma, the true nature of Sagunishvara, we are talking about Satchitananda. That is the ultimate glory. But that glory, very few people are going to understand. Only advanced students of Vedanta. Therefore, I need you to describe some more, not only Satchitananda. I need you to describe some of your glories as superimposed by the gunas of Maya. Huh? So give me that list, please, the list of your glories. And then Krishna says, okay, here you go, all my glories, my own glory. What kind of glory? Extraordinary glory. Ordinary things are Bhagwan's glories only, which are extraordinary, because even ordinary things are Bhagwan's glories only. As I said, opening the mouth itself is the glory of Bhagwan. Even if I'm gonna say and speak ignorance, okay, gibberish, you know. So if I'm just going to talk things that nobody wants to listen, that somehow is due to the glory of the Lord. That is makes somebody throw up a lot of things that are not adding any value to the field around. But in the same, but yet it serves a certain purpose, you know, that delivers some papa karma to some people who somehow is compelled to listen, feels obliged to listen. So when we meet a person who has got a locked jaw, a jaw or jaw, 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 a locked jaw. What it means? He opened and it's not able to close. It's locked in the other way. It's not locked closed. It's locked like that. It's just a defect happens that the mouse cannot close anymore. Mhm. So got stuck in an open mode. Yeah? When you see someone who cannot close, shut, I mean, in English say shut up. Yeah. And then when we see people who cannot shut up, which is said to be very offensive in the English culture to say shut up. In every language, but in the United States is even more serious somehow. So you can never say shut up to anybody because this is a democracy. We can open our mouths and say anything.
It used to be.
So everything is the glory of the Lord. Even a mouth that is always open, producing words is the vibhuti of the Lord. If I'm going to enumerate all the simple, ordinary saguna glories of the Lord, we will take eternity to describe it. Winking, we do. So even the winking of the eyes is a glory. It's the most ordinary thing. Everybody does that until you have a defect and then you can't do it anymore. And then you're going to say, my God, I did not know that Ishwara was provide me with that glory. I never really thanked Ishvara for that. I took it for granted. And now it is the fact that science does not know how to solve this problem. And then I'm going to pray to Ishvara, I'm sorry, I never thank you for giving me a winking kind of eye. Yeah? So lubrification is no longer there, and it feels like there is sand in my eyes, and I put some eye drops, but it's a pain. So I lost the glory of the Lord in that sense. Okay. Shwara does those small little things when? All the time. Until it doesn't. So if I had to enumerate everything, it would be an endless list. So I'm going to use a few samples of ordinary glories so that we don't stay forever presenting every one of those features of my glories. In Taittiriya Upanishad, we have got a meditation on the very limb of the body so that we will not take the limb for granted. And as we grow old, we know that. It's unbelievable. Growing old is such a challenge. But I'm not going to go there. Even a meditation on the organ of evacuation is a valid meditation to invoke the power of the Lord. Lord, something stopped function. I'm constipated here. So do as you used to do in the past. Just release these toxins in my intestine. And then there is a specific meditation for the organ of evacuation. You only know the glory of Ishvara as the evacuation system, autonomous system, when you lose it somehow, when it does not function properly. Some other people may have another problem, the opposite of constipation, and they have to be going to the bathroom several times, which is another problem. So therefore, try not to take everything for granted. So I mentioned, I think, last class, I mean, it's very common we see this in a human relationship, partners, husband and wife, or partners in general, boyfriends and girlfriends and so on. It's very easy we take the other for granted, the same way we take those glories of Ishvara for granted. and then if one of the two says it's over for me, I'm packing up and I'm going to move on. And then the other say, oh my God, I took for granted the other, So I never really valued the other. I never really appreciated the other. I never expressed any appreciation for the other. So, and then sometimes we have a shock of reality. Yeah? So Ishvara is so incredibly compassionate that he's never going to leave us. He's always there, inviting us to recognize his glory and be grateful and offer something in return, such as observance of Dharma and reverence and appreciation, love, devotion for the Lord. It requires a very refined mind, refined by the understanding and the development of this reverence and devotion, a mind which is mindful, minding everything as the glory of the Lord. That's the point here. Therefore, everything is Bhagwan's vibhuti, glory. We are not talking about extraordinary things, but very simple things. And now, what about the extraordinary glories of the Lord? They are innumerable. There are so many, a lot of them we are not even aware. Even though it will be less than ordinary, maybe because in Mithya there is a diversity, plurality of phenomena that makes Mithya the most complex and difficult teaching in Vedanta, because of the complexity. And we need the teaching about the diversity and the dynamic of cause and effect we see the space-time project by Maheshwara. It's so complex. But Vedanta says, never mind, you don't need to understand very much. You just need to understand the laws and principles that holds together this very complex appearance, projection, manifestation, so that you can develop a sattvic mind, and then the Upanishad will come, hold your hands, and take you into the investigation of the true nature of Sagunishwara as Nirguna Atma, the very, very self. So even if we take extraordinary glories, they will be many in any case. We will never be able to complete it. Therefore, I'm going to take just a few. Arjuna, don't ask me more than this few. Yeah? I'm going to be selective. The reason is what? There is no limit to my glories. Yeah? Vibhuti, Vistaraha means Vibhuti. So there is no end to my Vibhuti because it consists of the entire cosmos. Not only one loka against other loka, this physical loka, but all the 14 lokas according to our scripture. It's just an expression of the glory of the Lord. Therefore, there is no end to it. Okay. And he says, Arjuna, I'm going to tell you something here. Among Kuru people, also Arjuna, you are also glorious that you can become a symbol of meditation. This is such a compliment to Arjuna. This kind of compliment is dangerous because imagine that Arjuna is still moved by too much pride and arrogance and vanity. He can use that to somehow developing a superego, But I think Krishna was confident that Arjuna could take that without getting enlightenment sickness. So sooner or later, you are going to become a symbol of meditation because I'm confident that by the 18th chapter here, you will be transformed and you're going to be seen not only as Arjuna the warrior, but Arjuna the Guruji, Arjuna the Jnani, Arjuna the Jivan Mukta. Yeah? And people are going to use you as a symbol of the tradition, symbol of Upasana. That's why when there is a thunder and lightning in the sky and a person is frightened, they tell you, remember Arjuna, very nice, remember Arjuna, because Arjuna is a symbol of courage. He's representative of the glories of the Bhagwan, the Lord. How so? Krishna is going to explain it later, because of the braveness and courage of Arjuna. So if you are frightened in any circumstance in your life, remember Arjuna. Remember, because he's a symbol of braveness. O Arjuna, I am the self resides in the heart of all beings. I am the beginning, the middle, as well the end of all beings. So I am the self. I pervade everything, permeates everything. I'm within the body. I am the most fundamental core or essential nature of the body. Yeah. So the heart here is the core, the essential nature of the body, mind, and every other configuration of the gunas of Maya. So I am the essential nature of everything, the intrinsic nature of all beings. And I represent the beginning, the middle, as well, the end of all beings. Everything emerges from me and remains for a time being, sustained by me, and it's resolved back into me, in its due time, according to certain laws such as karma. So the list here on these verse 20s uh, will take us until the verse 38, 18 verse here. Krishnaji is going to describe some of his glory. Krishna gives a very elaborate list, and while enumerating Krishna's glories, Krishna wants to first talk about the vibhuti of Bhagwan as Nirguna Brahman. So he's going to begin from the most subtle, which is the indweller, so to speak, the principle all pervasive that somehow vivifies, enlivens, and animates the entire universe of all inert as well moving beings. I want to talk about this most fundamental glory, which is Nirguna Brahman, which is the most subtle, the only reality, the substratum of the superimposition of the gunas of Maya. So I am the only true higher order of reality. I am Satya, everything else is Mithya. Among these three orders of reality, if you remember, Krishna wants to first enumerate the highest order, conscious existence of one and single nature, the only reality.
Arlinda, what do you think he's not, is he referring to causal, subtle, and gross, or what? The first highest order?
It did not pop in my mind.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you if you remember reading, if Swami has elaborated that or not, but it will pop in my mind any moment here.
Good.
Among the three orders of reality. So, and what is that? Chaitanya consciousness, the fundamental glory, the true nature of everything. That is Nirguna Brahman, Nirguna Atma, because consciousness alone makes the entire living beings alive. So, as far as the jivas, from the vegetable, rain, animal, and human, plants and so on, there is this consciousness that's going to make things dance, make things alive, make things moving, properly designed for the sake of surviving and procreation. Therefore, animals are alive, human beings are alive, And human beings have the intellect which allows them to inquire, to try to understand what's going on. Yeah? And all of that is due to the aspect chit of Brahman, Chaitanya. Okay. Every organ and an organ only because of sentiency. And that sentiency is my gift. It's probably referring to Paramatika Satyam, Pratibhasika Satyam, and Vyavaharika Satyam, the three orders. Every organ is an organ only because of sentience. And the sentience is my gift because I am Chaitanya's Varupa. And that's why in Lalita, various Maya glories of Mother is described. But in the list, we have got also the glory of Nirguna Mother. Satchitananda, Rupin, Satchitananda, that Rupan or Rupin is also described. Krishna starts with Chaitanya, consciousness in this verse. So, therefore, what is our meditation now? That I am alive, I know that very life is a manifestation of the glory of God. Therefore, I must learn to be grateful, to be respectful to life, to have gratitude towards the Creator providing us with this opportunity. This is one of the most fundamental principles, which is Satyan, with conscious existence, the only reality. It's what's behind, quote unquote, behind the miracle of life. Therefore, we need to have an appreciation and respect to life. And because of our respect for life alone, ahimsa becomes paramo dhamma, because I see every living being as endowed with this God's glory, the gift of life. And therefore, I have reverence towards every living creature because I know that they are symbols of the glory of Bhagwan. Therefore, my aim is to avoid himsa, or at least minimize himsa. So how to avoid himsa totally? That's a good philosophical discussion. Even though vegetarianism is condemned and vegetarianism is glorified because of fundamental principle of reverence for any form of life. Therefore, first glory is the glory of this fundamental Satchitananda, the only reality. So in the Hindu culture, we know vegetarianism is glorified because, as Dayananda says, observe the other animals. They don't want to be killed. They don't want you to eat them. And it's such an act of violence and cruelty that I'm not able to do this with my animals, but here and there I still eat some meat, And if we look into these contradictions, and we say, okay, so maybe it's time for me to go back to be vegetarian, or whatsoever.
I can't even
Huh?
I can't even do the milk and cheese thing anymore because in America the cruelty with which they produce these foods. If I had my own cow, I could do it. If if it was a natural way for the cow to give, but
Well, I'm trying to live on my chickens, not to eat the chicken, but to eat a lot of eggs. I eat a lot of eggs. And
yeah, if you have your own chickens and you love them and care for them, it's all
yeah,
good. Yeah.
yeah. And then you have to deal with those chicken that do not lay eggs, but you cannot interfere. Those ones that become old and they become a liability that not offer anything back. So you have to deal with all of that, and then you find yourself in some circumstances that's so difficult because there are predators that are coming to kill your chicken, kill your small babies, and swallow your eggs, and then you are always surrounded by this challenge. It goes to the extent that I know I can't really solve this problem with the ants that they are preventing me from beginning my my vegetable garden, for example, and what do you do about the ants? Because when you start looking at the ants more closely, you see the intelligence, the way they move, the way they dig new homes, and I shared with you that I put a channel around and they made a hole and went from underneath to get into my vegetable garden.
You see,
So
they're a miracle.
yeah,
They're just miraculous.
yeah, they
And I
have
remember this wonderful quote from, okay, the name is avoiding me now, but there's some times when himsa is unavoidable. Like you walk and you step on a creature, unavoidable. And there's this beautiful, oh, it's Blake, an English writer who says, the cut worm forgives the plow, which I thought was just beautiful.
the cut worm. Can you
The
repeat
cut
again?
worm forgives the plow.
The plow is what?
The plow is that mechanism that you use to move through the earth, to open the earth, to plant the
Yeah,
seed.
yeah, yeah. Any instrument that you go to fluff the soil, you're gonna kill a lot of these worms.
That's right. Yeah.
So, it goes to a certain extent that you have to accept that, I mean, the other animals, they eat one another. It's the law of the jungle, and and we can forgive them. But imagine if we would live in a way aware that even when we breathe, we destroy some very, very invisible insects that come in and come out, and then you put a mask, and then you cannot eat because to grow something, it's almost impossible. Okay, and then I'm going to eat only the fruits that fall on the ground. They fall, they have some worms. So are you going to eat the worm? Are you going to take the food of the worms that are live inside? It becomes almost impossible to live. And then you have to come to one of those logics presented by Ramji, that in the end, okay, so if I eat my fish, the fish was going to die in any way, he should be happy because at least there is a Yanni eating his body.
Here,
So
here.
huh?
That's right.
That's Ramji justifying his fishings. But the thing about fishing, just talk about that now, the fish, you don't have much connection with the fish because he lives in another world, which is below the surface of water. But to see them being caught and dying of suffocation is something really touching. So it comes to a point that we have to try to produce some vegetables, take the vegetables from the plants, thanking the plant, thanks the vegetable, and thanking the insects, the birds, and many other predators that left some to you as well. And then you buy the vegetables here and there, knowing that most everybody use something to kill the insects in any case. Our aim is to avoid himself, minimize himself. So the least glory also. Then the last glory is Nirguna Ishvara glory. So Nirguna Brahman is the ultimate glory. And you know what is Satrupan or Satta Svarupam? The very existence principle, existence is synonymous of consciousness, is the existence principle because of which I am able to say, I am, I exist, and I know that exists, that I'm able to say the table is, the chair is, I am, the pen is, the book is, everything exists, and the existence is one and the same. And then the other aspect of this most fundamental glory of Brahman must be seen as Sat. Sat, Chit, existence, consciousness, they are the two sides of the same coin. When you say that the pot is, the isness, as we know, belongs to Brahman, it's apparently transferred to the pot, but as we know, it's Brahman in its nature, Sat, existence, is the only source of existence that is apparently transferred to the existence of the Namarupas due to lack of vision, lack of education, understanding, knowledge, because once you understand that there is only one consciousness and one existence, and then you know that everything is existence within existence, as if you superimpose a lot of Namarupas on existence, and then of course the Namarupas are going to be blessed by existence that exists on another order reality, Satchan. But in analogy, it's like a screen on which I project the gunas, the Namarupas, and then it's going to be blessed. And then there is an apparent correlation between Satya and Mithya. And then we say, so the Namarupas are blessings of Vishwara due to the superimposition of the gunas. But the true glory, the true existence, the true consciousness comes from the substratum, the background, the screen, or the reflecting medium, the only reality. Clay, the material cause, if you remove the case, the clay, the pot is over. Golden rings and other ornaments, you remove the gold, everything collapses. So the effect exists only by borrowing existence from its cause. The cause is the intrinsic nature of an object. You can never remove the intrinsic nature of any configuration of the gunas of mind, because if you remove that, that object goes out of existence. Effects, byproducts, never have its own existence. Other objects, the sentient objects, the so-called jivas, never have its own consciousness. The consciousness is considered by Satchitananda Brahman the only source of conscious existence. So human jivas are effects. Our mind, our human consciousness is an effect. We depend on consciousness in order to enjoy our minds, our human consciousness, our human mind, our intellect. But we are totally dependent on limitless, original consciousness, pure consciousness. No? So we don't really have consciousness as inherent to our body-mind. We have consciousness as the intrinsic nature of the body-mind. Okay? And how are we going to claim I am conscious existence? By understand conscious existence does not have to do with the gunas and the elements configuring this body-mind. Conscious existence is my true nature, but it somehow belongs altogether to such another order of reality. We see the only reality, which is Chitananda Brahman. The effects never get its own existence. Any mind does not have its own consciousness. The cause will be always sitting there. The gold will be always there as the fundamental cause of all ornaments of gold. So you can never say that I have my own mind. The gold ring has its own nature as a ring. No, because the nature of the gold ring is the gold. You remove the gold, there is no ring. Yeah? The isness of every ornament of gold is gold alone. So the isness, the existence, the reality of every body, mind, sense complex is Sat-Chit, the only reality. This Sat-Chit is the true blessing of Ishvara, but it's very subtle. Most devotees are not going to understand this description of the glory of Brahman, as we know. Therefore, there is always a cause. The cause is the intrinsic nature, and it always manifests on the surface as a namarupa. So the fact as the very exist, it always manifests in the fact as the very exist. So when we see the fact, the body mind, we can be sure, 100% sure, if we really understood and we assimilate and retain these teachings, that that body mind is just an effect of that which is my true nature as existence. My true nature is Sat-Chit, the only reality. So this Nirguna Brahman is the causeless cause of everything. Everything here is an effect. Everything here is a superimposition, is a reflection occurring within the scope of Sat-Chit, the only reality. Bhagwan reflects or manifests itself as the world in which the human jivas are integral part, but everything is only Sat-Chit because every configuration is just an apparent superimposition that all that uh, enjoys a certain conscious existence, but it is borrowed, so to speak, from Satchitananda Brahma. And know that not only I am the souls reflecting or projecting or embracing the superimposition of the gunas of Maya, such as a screen that accept the projections of those forms designed by light running through some. I don't know how they do these moves because now everything is digital. There is no analog anything in this world anymore. So isness belongs to God, and when the whole creation resolves, only the Namarupa will resolve. So when the whole creation resolves, only the Namarupa resolve, the existence will go back to where? When the Bango chain is melt, it goes back to God. So it means to say when the so-called pralaya puts an end of a certain, how you say, a certain yuga, they say, we have pralaya. Pralaya is the end of a certain yuga. When there is an end of a certain yuga, everything resolves back in Sat-Chit, the only reality. The same way, all ornaments of gold, once the government confiscates them and melts everything to make gold bars, and then they just went back to the essential nature as gold alone. Uh, when the Bangle chain bring melt, Bangles result. The existence will go back to this fundamental nature, such as the gold ornaments go back to the gold itself. So take existence from the gold and at the time of destruction, and then not only the ornaments of gold are destroyed, but even the gold bars are destroyed. We are using the analogy, the parallel, but now here Swami say, in a deeper uh, investigation, we know that if we remove the gold bars, which was in which all the ornaments of gold were resolved, now remove the existence of the gold, and then you lost even your gold. But how can Ishvara bring about the resolution of the gold bars? Pralaya. In Pralaya, he's going to resolve everything within itself. Okay? So therefore, this Nirguna Brahman lends conscious existence for the jivas and lends existence for the inert beings such as gold, other metals, even the earth, argil, and clay, and so on. Now, and therefore, Bhagwan is over. Bhagwan, Nirguna Bhagwan, the talk about Nirguna Bhagwan is over. I think that's what he's trying to say. Existence, blah, 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 a lot of Sanskrit.
He says Bhagawan is all over.
All over. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bhagwan is all over. Yeah. I'm tired today, but sometimes it's good to go slow like this. So it is all over. So in Tunilam, too much sass. Did you translate this paragraph?
All of this, I think, is mostly Tamil, or it's some Indian language that he uses.
Yeah, he used Tamil language often.
But at the very end, he says that Yasyaiva, that begins, and he says that alone, whose manifestation, though appearing as the illusory phenomenal world, is truly of the nature of existence.
Very beautiful. Yeah. So the two main glories of Bhagwan is Chit Rupa Vibhuti and Sadrupa Vibhuti. So Krishna starts with this and that. And I have something very important I saw here in the corner. It's already time. I need to see. Silvia's going to be happy. The people from the Caixa Bank has finally sent me something here, and I want to see what it is because it's so difficult to get back to them. And now I have a chance to call him on WhatsApp. Namaste. We meet again tomorrow with the same Gita, we see the same Sachit existence. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Okie dokie. Good to meet again.
Thank
Tomorrow
you.
at the same time. Okay?
Tomorrow.
Love you, meet you, hug you.
Back at you. Bye.